Fiverr Friday. It is wonderful to be live with you again. I think this is like episode number 74, and I'm super thrilled to be back doing another Fiverr Friday. And welcome if you are new to the channel. This is a VO's Journey, a place where we help the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. And on Fiverr Friday, it's a real fun day because what we do is I basically give you my 2 cents about a topic on Fiverr, and then you post your questions, and I do my best to answer them. So if you've got a question, if you've got a thought, something that does with Fiverr, and you want to get my feedback or answer, go ahead and post it there, and I will do my best to answer it. Thank you very much. I hope you're having a great Friday too. I appreciate that. Thank you for the shirt. It's one of those mesh shirts. It's really nice. Anyways, welcome to a VO's Journey. And today, super thrilled. We're going to be talking about, I think the topic that's on a lot of people's mind about Fiverr. And that is, with a lot of news coming out about Fiverr and the layoffs that's going on, and the noticeable, I think, decline in work. Is business declining on that platform? Are there issues with it? And I think we're going to have a good conversation about that today. And again, if you have got comments, questions, please go ahead and post them there. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel. That's a big thing. Hit that notification bell, and make sure you turn on all so that when I do put up a video or I go live, which we're doing a lot more now, I'm doing a couple times a week, you'll get notified. You can hop in. Also, real quick, just so you know, there'll be a link below for a VO's Journey Elite Academy. We've got some exciting things going on. We've launched our audiobook publishing company, where we're getting voice actors and we're publishing audiobooks, a lot of books from the public domain and everything. So that's super exciting. And don't forget our conference that we've got coming up in October. Lots of stuff there on avosjourney.com. So I had to get all that out of the way, So let's go ahead and dive into this topic for Fiverr Friday. Real quick on a side note, if you've been on Fiverr Friday before, when I moved, I lost my hat. I got to get a new hat. I used to have a hat and it said Fiverr. I took some packing tape and I put it across and I drew Fiverr on it. And I don't know what happened to that hat. I think I've lost it. So unfortunately that sucks. But anyways, getting into this topic today about what's going on Fiverr. Now, generally speaking, we all know summertime is a lot slower than normal, right? I mean, we know summertime, it slows down. People are on vacation. They're not as busy. It does traditionally start to pick up in August and September, especially getting closer to Halloween. Okay, that happens. So we know that time usually does. You need a fez. Yes, fez. Definitely need a fez. But so we know that time usually picks up. Okay, but we cannot overstate, and I think this is an important conversation for all of us to have, and it's going to, in my mind, for me, and I'll tell you what I'm doing about it, it really is making me not restructure, but rethink about directions that I'm taking in my business and what efforts I'm putting in where. But for better, for worse, and it's a horrible thing, but as we've come out of the pandemic and with everything going on, I think in Russia and Ukraine and all the stuff that's happening, we are seeing a global retraction, right? We are seeing a lot of issues around the world, and it's causing, I think, economies to really suffer. All I do, I go to the grocery store and stuff's like 2 or 3 times more expensive. So, I mean, it's definitely more difficult out there for all of us. Because of that, so what happens is when things start to retract, right? Businesses, and this is the primary group of people that purchase from us or other businesses, things get cut. Things get Fiverr Friday. I actually should sell these. I had somebody made this Fiverr Friday mug for me. Isn't it really nice? It's a really nice Fiverr Friday mug. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And it was a random thing. But anyways, as I retract, they cut their marketing dollars. Okay, I'm going to take a cup of coffee as well. And, because of that, they cut marketing budgets. Well, we're in a part of that budget. So we are going to lose work, and we're on the front line. So we're seeing it now. It's going to get worse down the road for the rest of the world too. Um, because we are on the, we are the first people, we are the communicators, we relay the messages. So what we see, we kind of predate things. Um, so anyway, so that's a tough realization. So I do think Fiverr in itself is markets to a global market. And it is evident to me because I always said that, 40% of my business comes from the US. So the largest one single country that I get work from is the US. However, 60% of my overall business comes from outside of the US. Okay? So you've got to think that that is a massive amount of business that's coming from all over the world. I've done work all over the world, from Africa to South America to Asia to Europe to Australia, everywhere. I mean, I've done work all over the world now. And, so I think with that pullback, that's going to be really hard for us. It's going to hit us hard. And we have to recognize that that is a reality moving forward. But I want to talk about what I'm doing and what I think you can do about it. So one, Fiverr is, I think, retracting some. That news came out about them laying off a lot of their workers. Their stock price has plummeted. I mean, I think it was like $100. It wasn't higher than that a couple years ago. It was like $100 earlier in the year, the beginning of the year or whatever. And now it's, I think, down to like 33. I haven't checked it today. But they're having a retraction. And on top of that, you notice with the platform, Fiverr's been doing a lot of other things on their platform. If you haven't noticed, they whenever Fiverr rolls out new stuff too, it kind of makes things a little weird. And so, with getting notifications, getting business where they're marketing. So listen, it's not your fault. All right. If you're not getting as much work anymore, there's not as much gigs going around. Are there people still getting a lot of work on Fiverr? Of course. And you're always going to come across that person who's like, this is the greatest month I've ever had. And that's wonderful, right? There's those, and we're happy for them. But there is, I do firmly believe there is a retraction happening, and it is hitting Fiverr pretty hard, and a lot of us hard. But this is why I want to talk to you also about then what are the opportunities, right? Because since I think it is hitting Fiverr hard and it is hitting us hard, where are there opportunities? How do we move forward? Well, one, don't count Fiverr out yet. I mean, Fiverr out, in my opinion, is still, the largest marketplace for us, especially new and upcoming voice artists and voice artists who are trying to, increase their revenue to get work. I really do think that. But I do think that with the competition as stiff as it's become now on Fiverr and with the retraction in the market, that means you've got to be that much better. I do believe, in my personal opinion, years and years ago, when I first started on Fiverr back in 2017 for voiceover, we had like 6,000 or 7,000 gigs up there. Now there's 30,000. That's a lot more competition. And yes, that doesn't mean there's 30,000 separate people on there because, we all have multiple gigs, but it still shows you how much more competition. Even if they're not different people, each one of those gigs, you're competing against a gig, right? An offering that pops up on a screen when someone does a search. So that's a lot of people to compete against, which means you've got to be that much better. Your pictures have to be more high quality. Your gear, all right, you need to have better sounding audio. Okay, your communication needs to be better. Everything needs to be filled out. I mean, there's no. I think the days of just getting on that platform and being able to get work, unfortunately, have passed. And I hate to say it. That doesn't mean I wouldn't start with Fiverr because I still recommend it. But, it is important to note that it's not what it used to be. Now, I still have students of mine that I coach who get on there, and the first month they make, $1,000, $1,500. And that's wonderful. But then I have other students who it takes them, a couple of months to make that, or 6 months. I didn't have a coach when I started, but it took me, even back when I started in 2017, it took me a year to make $800, and I spent way more than that on my business, right? So I think, it is uh, just an awareness that you should have that there is a retraction there. So what do I think the opportunities are? And this is one thing that I'm very excited about. So remember, during times of stress, extreme stress, retraction, recession, whatever you want to call that's going on in the global economy right now, what is it that we do as a people to get by? Right? We look for things that get us through, things that entertain us, all right? Things that help us get through the stress and the storm. What do we do? As odd as I just almost said it out loud, but you can't. What do we what do we do as voiceover actors that entertain people on a regular basis? Audiobooks. I have, over the years, I've seen trends come and go. I've seen things grow, things fall away, things, that were really hot over now are not hot now. But the one thing that continues to grow and is growing now more than ever are audiobooks. And a big reason for that and meditation, is that we are selling direct to consumer. This is important, everybody. This is really important, I think, for you to grasp, right? We're selling direct to consumer with these items, not to a business. Businesses retract. Now, in a recession, everybody's spending less money. But if you think about the budget that a business has, right, that's a different thing than you and I. Like, I'm paying now. I have Audible. I've got a membership to Audible. I use different audiobooks. I go to YouTube. I go to Audible. I go to Find It. There's all these different places I go to get music, podcasts. I listen to podcasts. We are listening now more than ever. Consumers are wanting to spend their money to be entertained. I hate to say it, to pacify us through these rough times, to build a bridge. Us as voice actors, we have to be aware of that, and we have to know that, listen, whether it's meditation, whether it's voice acting, or whether it's audiobooks, something that's going direct to consumer, you have got to hop on that train. Now, how does this go with Fiverr? Fiverr is still an incredible place to get audiobook work. Okay, it really is. But at the same time, and this is not a tag to get off of Fiverr, because it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to add to that, you really need to start thinking, and I implore you to do this. I implore you. You've got to start thinking about putting together also your own offerings that people can purchase from you directly, as well as on Fiverr. Okay, because you need to have something to own. I was having an interesting conversation the other day about how hard the SAG-AFTRA, the union, is fighting, especially in the character market, the anime market, the video game market, to reclaim a lot of that independent stuff and to lock it down. They're really going after their own interests, and that's okay. I mean, they're free to do that. But there's a lot of people fighting behind the scenes and jockeying behind the scenes to lock things down. That takes opportunities away from us, especially if we're independent. Okay. Now, being a part of SAG-AFTRA, that's wonderful, and that's what you want to do. That's fine. I just personally enjoy being more independent, right? And you wouldn't be working on Fiverr. So if you're part of SAG-AFTRA, although I will tell you that I've actually worked with a lot of SAG-AFTRA actors on the DL, which I would never say any who is, because I promised them I wouldn't, but who are working on Fiverr under pseudonyms to make money because they're not always able to make money, doing that the traditional way, because that competition is outrageous and not as much work. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that the consumer, if we can go straight to the consumer through audiobooks, through through meditations, that's why I launched audiobooks by VO's Journey, and hiring voice actors to produce to narrate audiobooks and building that, because I think going straight to consumer, and on top of that, I really do firmly believe utilizing more of today's methods of how to earn money than the old methods of just Audible. Okay, just Audible is it. And then we have because like even, Ahab, that's not a publishing Penguin Random House Audio uses the platform Ahab as a list. I mean, they've set it right for their rights holders, and then they're gonna where are they gonna publish it? They're gonna publish it through Amazon. Okay, so it's a published company. It's not a hub to get work, or I mean to sell your work through, right? And then there's Find Away Voices, which is confusing as hell to me. I'm just saying. So all I'm trying to point out to you is that make sure that on Fiverr you are doing things that you can also sell directly to the consumer, and that you are using that then to create your own offerings through your own website, through your own channel, or message me here, leave a comment. You're interested in checking out audiobooks by VO's Journey. We have a YouTube channel. We're publishing our third story today. Actually, after this, I'm putting it up. But I really firmly believe that's how you can grow during this time. And I think if Fiverr really, again, pushes that envelope of understanding what is working right now and what is not working right now, I think they're going to be continuing to grow even during this time of struggling. But for me, it is vital that you understand, again, and I can't point this out enough, there's still so much opportunity on Fiverr if you are willing to put in the work of making your stuff look more professional. I did this video yesterday about pricing. Pricing now more than ever, there's so many different ways to price on Fiverr. I've raised my prices. I still get work. People are still purchasing from me. I raised them again, another $10, and I raised all my other stuff, so my average sales price is over $100 per sale. Now, I'm a top-rated seller, and I've been there a long time. The point I'm trying to make out to you is that, there's so many preconceptions about Fiverr that's wrong as well. So make sure that you are taking advantage of what is there. And for goodness sakes, please, if you're going to use a picture from your computer that you found 10 years ago, don't. To the best of your ability, either with your phone, which most of our phones have really amazing cameras. Hire I know it's some money up front, scrounge whatever you can, get a photographer. Tell them, look, I'm working online. I need to get some stuff that's really going to get people to click on me. Please, let's do some photos. You've got to look professional. You've got to out-compete everybody else, or you got to beat out everybody else. And part of that way is because there's so many talented people on Fiverr, right? The way to do that, too, is also you've got to look the part. Make sure your stuff matches, okay? These are things meaning don't have a picture where you're like, and then they turn on you play your demo and you're like, in a world where one thumbnail does not match the demo, right? you make sure your stuff matches. Use common sense, because that will throw people off. Okay? All right. I've been chatting a lot. I give it a lot of my opinions. I'd love for you guys to put into the chat. Part of the wonderful thing about Fiverr Friday is answering your questions, sharing your thoughts, your concerns, your wonders, and letting me, give my 2 cents to help you guys out too. So if you've got questions about your own gig, it can be simple questions like, hey, Anthony, how do I do this? Or, hey, Anthony, what do you think about that? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to the chat. I want to welcome everybody. Also, on a side note, if you feel giving, there's this thing called Super Chat. You can always donate to the channel. It's on the bottom, I think, right, if you're watching live on YouTube. That was a shameless plug, I know. But why not? Why not give it a shot? You guys are such an amazing community, so I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and look up. Okay, I'm going to start looking. So we've got, and by the way, if you're on Facebook too, make sure you say your name because it only says Facebook user. So I did that first one. Whoever that was said, I love that shirt. Hope your Friday is amazing, Anthony. Thank you so much. We've got Queen B says hello. Hi, Queen B. We've got Sally that says, hi, Anthony. Hi, Sally. V Worldwide, what's up? Good morning, Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy. Thanks for always sharing your knowledge, Anthony. Jeremy, awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate that. Mark, what's up? Atis627. Good evening, all. Hey, where are you from? Oh, where are you from? Are you in somewhere in Europe? Are you over in Israel? This is the evening over there. I'm not sure. It says 13 because I think UK's 5 hours, Israel's 5 or 6 hours ahead of us. I'm not sure where you're at, but welcome. Bet says, hi, Anthony from Madison, Wisconsin. Awesome. Awesome. Good to have you. Rudy, what's up, Rudy? You need a fez. I know. I want a fez. I'm going to have like a fez and I'll have like a little, I could have the Fiverr logo hanging on the side. I'm an idiot. All right. Facebook user says, a drop in business on Fiverr for me just highlights a fire under my beep to make sure my other channels are as developed as I can get them and to not underestimate the value of contacts with potential clients IRL. I've scored some unexpected work that way. Tell everyone you know you're in VO. Absolutely. That's great advice. Working with me, some of the things that I coach, especially, we do in the academy and I do with my mentor students is that there is always a focus on getting yourself out there to as many places on as many platforms to start, especially free ones. Fiverr is always the first one that I recommend. And, we always do deep dives into Fiverr because I still believe even today, Fiverr still is far, because you got to remember all these other sites are going to have challenges too, right? With the retraction, the recession in the economy. But, you got to get yourself out there. You got to get yourself out there. So that's absolutely true. Facebook user says, scary times indeed. Thanks for touching on this topic. Absolutely. Thank you. Let's see. Freelance Kate. Hi, are you also on Upwork? Yes. Yes, I am on Upwork. I don't do as much work myself on Upwork because I don't like the platform for me. So what I've realized is that, there's an active and a passive style of marketing in my world. These are just things these are terms I've come up with to help me put things into context. And my passive style of marketing is like a Fiverr style of marketing. You're putting up your offerings. You're making your own samples on your own time. You're posting them, putting them places. Upwork has that too with their projects, right? Like you put up projects, gigs, but they're projects, all right, on that's what they call them on Upwork. And, that company, that business spends money marketing, advertising, they bring traffic to us, and we benefit from that. And we have our offerings out there, so it becomes a very passive way of people coming to you. And the active ways would be going on Upwork and sending proposals, right? Going on doing auditions on voices.com and voice123. These are very active ways. Passive ways on voices.com and voice123. Now voices.com has gigs, although I'm really excited about our voiceover conference because David's coming. David Cicerelli, the CEO, and we've become friends over the years, David and I, and he's always willing to share information about what's going on. I don't know if they, I don't know, that didn't seem like such a success with their launch, with their projects, but I'm not quite sure. He's a very analytical guy, so we'll be able to hear some numbers that he goes through at the conference, but they do have gigs now available there on voices.com. So that's a place for you again, but you can also put up tons of samples. If you have 6 or 7 samples up on voices.com, why don't you have 100? Each one of those samples, there's a potential for someone to find you, right? So put your stuff up everywhere. I totally agree with that. And Upwork, again, I work with a lot of people who make a lot more money on Upwork than they do on Fiverr, and vice versa. So Upwork, again, is the second. When you look at traffic with all these platforms, Fiverr is number one and the closest second is Upwork. Fiverr trumps them by double the amount of traffic, but Upwork is still, I think, the closest one after Upwork that we're familiar with, of course, would be voices.com. But Upwork and Fiverr are so far ahead of them traffic-wise. Now, because that's also because they don't just focus on voiceover, right? But anyways, let's see. Rudy says, American Male voiceover by itself is 10,000 gigs. Absolutely. Freelance Kate, is it easier to get work on Upwork or Fiverr? Yeah, and we just talking about that. You're going to see a different style of getting work on Fiverr than on Upwork, even though Upwork is trying, and they continue trying, the same like with voices, they're trying to switch their platform over to that passive style like Fiverr has. They're not actually getting as much. So I think that Upwork can be a very good spot to get work. if you are willing to put in the daily work of doing 1 to 3 proposals every single day and following a guide. Like, you should be, here's a little tips about Upwork. So here's tips about what you should go after Upwork. Make sure you go after proposals that are payment verified. Make sure that people have not had more than 0 to 10. So it's usually 0 to 5 and 5 to 10. Make sure there's no more than 10. I like to try to find 0 to 5 people who have submitted proposals. Okay, and make sure, of course, then that the budget and everything matches what you're doing. But follow those parameters. You'll probably get 1 to 3 of those a day, and you'll have a lot higher chance of getting work. Don't submit to ones that aren't payment verified, and don't submit to ones that are, have 50 to 100 people. Now, I know they're offering payment, like you can pay in order to get your gigs up or your auditions up, or your proposals, up higher, like the 1 to 3 slots that they offer, you can pay. I haven't heard people in my circles, in a VO's journey, talking about how much they're gaining from that. It could be, I'm not sure, but I'm not hearing that. So I would definitely, though, do both. Set up your passive stuff first, get out all your gigs, your stuff, then get into setting up your more active stuff, like sending proposals. All right, LinkedIn user says, good afternoon from Rochester, New York. What's up? Good to have you. V Worldwide says, are audiobooks profitable? Seems like a lot of time. So this is, and it's a good point. So this is something that we, as I think a group, an industry, when I came into the industry, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know much about the industry. So all I learned right off the bat was from what I learned from doing stuff through ACX or learning about that pricing for audiobooks. As I learned more about the voiceover industry, and it's okay for people to disagree with me, because these are just my opinions, but we can make a ridiculous amount of money in a short period of time. Okay? And I think one of my, I did a video the other day about time. Like, if you take how much you make in an hour, right? And you make that much money in 5 minutes, if you multiply that out by 5 minutes, plus like 2 an hour, it's a ridiculous amount of money. But that person pointed out, and I think rightly so, that that's still not, you're not guaranteed to have it make all that, that full hour, right? It might only just be that one amount for 5 minutes. And that's absolutely true. But I think audiobooks, if you take a step back, if you're charging, and what's interesting about Fiverr, I think, is that Fiverr gets a lot of times better industry standard rates than, Penguin Random House Audio. And people don't talk about the audiobook stuff on Fiverr very much, because there's no, like, with issues, because there is no issues, because you get paid you can get really good prices. It's not because people come on there, they don't know what to pay, right? I mean, like, and we all set that standard. But the reality is that if you do a book that's 10 hours long and it takes you 50 hours to complete a 10-hour long book, right? We'll just say that 50 hours. So at 50 hours, if you were to make 50 hours times $10 an hour, what is that? That's $500, all right? Let's just say, so $10. Let's just say it's $20. That's $1,000. So if you were to charge $200 per finished hour, that's $2,000. So if you worked a job at 20 hours, I mean, and this is legitimate math, right? Because if you think about it, when I did my other comparison, that math was based on an assumption that we're doing lots of work. If you're not actually getting the work, then adding it out like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes out to an hour doesn't make sense. You'll have to go back. Basically, I was saying that, if you make, $50 in 30 minutes, or in 5 minutes, if there's, what would that be? If there's 12 multiples of 5, right? 5 minutes in 60 minutes or an hour, and you multiply that by 50, right? You're talking a lot of, you're talking $600 in an hour that you're making. But the reality is, you're not really making $600 in an hour unless you actually do those 12 multiples of 5 minutes each, making $50, right? But with audiobooks, that's not the case, because you literally are, we are basically charging per hour. Okay. And even though we do per finished hour, that's just a fancy way of saying, that per finished hour includes the work that it takes to complete that per finished hour. So if you would look at doctors who make about $90 to $120 on average for an hour's work, right? An audiobook, if we're making 200, we're just using $200 per finished hour, 50 hours of work, right? That's going to be, we said what? 10 hours, because that's 10 hours of finished audio, $2,000. $2,000 divided by 50 is what? I don't even know. I'm trying to pull up my calculator. If anybody knows the math on that. But let's see. How much is it? All right, so 50 was it divided by... is it $25? Anybody? I'm trying to think. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's something around there. So, I mean, we're not talking about getting rich here, all right, doing $25, $30 an hour. Now, that's if it takes you 5 hours. You can do it a lot. You could get it down to 3 hours, and you can hire an editor, all right, that takes you even more time less. But you're not going to make, there's no lie, you're not going to make an obscene, it's not going to be one job where you make a couple, you make $5,000 for a few minutes of work. But guys, really, how many of us are really getting those? I mean, if we want to be honest about what is happening, how many of us are really getting that work? And how long are we going to hold out for work like that before we actually make some money to pay for the bills and put food on the table? That's how I always looked at it. So audiobook work, and the reason why I brought up audiobook work too is because no matter what I've seen over the last years I've been in this and what I'm seeing now, there's always work, and it's growing. And so yes, I don't think it's as I keep looking, what is it, Ludic? It's I don't think it's as I say profitable. It's not, you're not going to get a massive quick fix, like I said, $50 in 5 minutes. But then again, if we bring that out and say, well, that 5-minute spot took me 3 days to get, right? That $50. So then that 3 days took me $50, even though it only took me 5 minutes to record it. But technically, it still took me 3 days. I do this sometimes myself, and I had to knock myself for it. And we got to be more accurate, I think, with actually how much time it really takes to get something. How much time goes by? I always said, people would say, well, I don't do anything. I'm going to hold out for that job that's paying $5,000 for one spot, and it's 2 hours of studio time. That's great. But I'm just saying, if it takes you 2 months to get that $5,000 job, you might be like, that's still really good, because then it's $2,500 a month, which is amazing. Okay. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there's way more money to be made than that by just holding out for that one spot. And that's in the assumption that you're going to get that one spot. If you don't get that spot, you get nothing. All right. And unfortunately, even that's not going to pay the bills or put food on the table. Okay. Not in our day and age. So I do think that what I love about audiobooks is that there's always work. And if you get really good at it and you build a team of people who can help you edit it and master and format it, you can pump out a lot of books and make a good, steady earning while you're also building the rest of your stuff. Okay. And it's why I also said I think it's vital that you look at having some ownership of books also. So remember, there will get to be a point where you have to understand that either you're going to be a solopreneur, okay, which is you working by yourself as a voice actor, which is wonderful, or are you going to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, and grow a business that grows beyond you? Because there's only going to be so much money you can make by yourself before you've got to grow and have something else to offer in our industry. And I'm not talking about coaching or anything like that. I'm just talking about, what if you built a website around offering meditations, pre-recorded meditations that you sell? People, that's a very high search for term on Fiverr. You could check this out by being in the Seller Plus program on Fiverr. You have to have access to that as a a level 1, level 2 seller. They have offer you that program, but they give you top keyword searches, which is some good research on Fiverr. I think some of the best research, some of the best use of Fiverr I've seen is that research and those keyword research that they've made accessible to people. That will help you tremendously. But meditation, audiobooks, having the ability for you to offer them directly to the consumer where you are keeping way more of that money is very beneficial. But use Fiverr as a way to make money now and to learn how to do it online. So much can be said for our education through learning how to deal with customers online. For better, for worse, they really know what they're doing at Fiverr. All right, let's see. Are audio drama podcasts profitable? Well, I can tell you what, they are in demand. People want them. We are going to be doing them. They're fun. They're a lot of work. A god-awful amount of work. They're worth it, but I think as a community, as voice actors, the challenge is, now when you say profitable, Rudy, I don't know, do you mean like, is it profitable to produce them? Or is it profitable to be hired to do, like, to be an actor in them? Because I'm thinking about it from multiple places, right? As a voice actor, but also as the producer. I want to, as I grow in this business, in this industry, I want to own more rights, because if not, all we're constantly doing, right, is trying to get to that next job and get to that next job and get to that next job and get to that next job. However, having royalties, rights, two things, right? And even if you are a stickler on usage rights, majority of that stuff is for 6 months to a year, or they're buyouts, right? They go away. I want to have lifetime ownership of things too. So I think from a standpoint of, is it profitable for you to be hired and cast in them? It is becoming a lot more prevalent, and a lot people are more interested in it, because again, unfortunately, the days of, I hate to say this, and because I grew up in this, I love it. It's my passion, but theater is struggling. Theater is struggling. I think the pandemic as a big cause for that, but theater was struggling. Is I hate to say it, was on the decline for a while. Stage. I mean, TV, of course, it has become, TV and movies was the new theater for the age, our age, and now I think online dramas, if you're noticing, that's becoming even more the new theater of our day and age, the of our age right now, and it's just so much steam and energy behind it. So I do think it's very profitable on both ends. Bet says, I recently saw a buyer's request specifically looking to hire a SAG-AFTRA voice actor. That's interesting. I don't know if that was someone screwing around or someone who, I really do think companies, all right, want to go through platforms like Fiverr, because there's so many of us, and there's a lot of there's a lot of us who are incredible, all right, on this platform. So, of course people are going to come to it and go through that, because they don't, and here's another thing too. It could have been studios or people looking for, are there actors there? I mean, I hate to think that there was somebody trying to lure someone in to screw them over, because they really shouldn't be on that platform, according to SAG-AFTRA, right? But it's definitely interesting, and I think you're going to see more of it, and you're going to see more of Fiverr promoting services, which is a big thing about the pro seller program. Interesting bets. Interesting. Ada says, I'm so scared of audiobook recording that I don't even try to make them. Any tips? I feel like it's so much work for too little money. Again, I think that if you, and this is up to you, it's totally up to you. I don't know what work you're getting, but I would challenge you to get a piece of paper or online. I do this for everybody here listening. I challenge all of you to do this. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. Write out the work that you're making on a daily basis, or how much work, or how much money did you make in a week, right? And what are you making? And how much time is it taking you to get that work? Right? So if it took you a week to get a $50 job, well, is it really not worth it to take a week to make $500 with an audiobook, right? Where it's a 2-hour audiobook, you charge $250, all right? Even if it was a 5-hour audiobook and you charged $100 per finished hour, all right? That take you 20 hours. So that means, you work 2 to 3, you could be 2 to 4 hours. You could even hire someone, all right, and pay them, $50 or something to do the editing. You might find that you're actually going to make more money. And here's my thing, unless you're sitting around just making money hand over fist, I don't know. It's something that you got to answer yourself. But I can tell you that I think it is an incredible business. And that's why I'm telling you also really consider owning the rights to your stuff. Whether, use a ghostwriter. My goodness, use Fiverr to your advantage. We as voice actors are constantly being hired by other people on Fiverr, by other people who are using our services to build out other services that go to the consumer. We can do the same thing. You can do the same thing. All right. 8 to 6. Same seems like hours of work for peanuts. Again, it is up to you. But and maybe you guys are getting loads of work. But I always thought your job as a CEO of your business is to make sure revenue continues to come in. And I have students who I've worked with in the past, just a few, who will say, man, I can't get any work. And then they'll message me, hey, I got an offer for this, but I've turned it down because I don't think it's enough. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then a couple weeks go by again, they don't get any work. And then they get another offer. No, it's just not enough. It needs to be more. I'm like, okay. All right. But they're like, this place doesn't, I'm not getting any work, or I'm not making any money. And I'm like, but you're turning down work. And then the argument comes out, well, I'm worth more. And you know how I feel about that. The worth has nothing to do with you as a person, because your worth is invaluable. It's incalculable. You can't put a price on your worth. You can put a value and awareness on your business, right? And how in demand your business services are, right? And that's what I think, and these are just, again, my opinions about things. So I would just counter with your guys' ideas that I would say, if you've got enough work, don't stress about it. If you don't have enough work, it might be a good option for you to make some money, at least in the interim, especially with this, pullback. Zach, what's up? Good to see you, Zach, my man. Holy crap, Gary. Sorry, I was just scrolling down the screen. Thank you so much, Gary, for the super chat, man. $10. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. It means the world to me. These super chats help me do this and spend a lot of time with you guys, because I will tell you, it's exciting. I love doing this, but the more I do this, which I love, right, the less I'm able to do as much voiceover work. But I love doing this too. I've been teaching my whole life, and it is a joy. Thank you so much, Gary, for that. I just saw it. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Always good to be on live with you. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Brandon says, what do you think about the murder mystery genre for audiobooks and YouTube medium narration? I recently completed a handful of jobs and absolutely loved it. Is it a standalone genre? Oh my goodness. So murder mystery, I think isn't it? So like the number one selling audiobooks, I believe, are mystery, romance, murder mystery books, those kind of top three. Yes, absolutely. So remember, a lot of authors too, and here's another thing I didn't even mention. You've got to think too, if we are focusing our efforts too on authors, right, rights holders, or the authors who are writing these books, where are the authors going? Because if we're all on Fiverr offering to do books for ACX, and authors are like, well, I'm not going to be on ACX anymore. Maybe you should try a gig that says, hey, I'll narrate your audiobook for YouTube. I'll narrate your audiobook for Findaway Voices. I'll narrate your audiobook for your website. Okay, not just ACX, because a lot of these authors are leaving. And this isn't just hearsay on my part. The wonderful thing about being a part of a voice acting community, and I suggest if you haven't, you join a VO's Journey Facebook group. It's free. We've got a great community over there, and and then we've got the Academy, which we've got an amazing community there. There's a lot of stuff for you to join and be a part of. But what I'm saying to you is that being in a good community with voice actors, you also get a chance to learn about what other companies or authors or stuff is happening through them. And we know a lot of our voice actors are talking about authors who are talking to them about leaving Audible because they're just it's an endless ocean over there that they can't really make any money from. And that platform really, if you think about it, it has not grown for the author or the narrator. It has grown for ACX. Everything they've done over the past couple of years, I'll never forget when ACX took away. I don't know if you guys remember, but it used to be where if someone bought a membership, right, an Audible membership, and they bought their first one with their first credit, they spent it on your book that you narrated. You and the author split this bounty of like $50. So you guys would both get an extra $25. And this was happening a lot. And then Audible comes in and says, no, we don't want to do that anymore. And they took that away and said, now in order to get that bounty, they got to buy through your link. So they knew that you were going to take all these people who are busy working on their art, right, working on narration, and force them to become marketers, which most of us were not. So we lost a lot of revenue. And authors lost a lot of revenue, and it went all to Audible and Amazon, okay, because it didn't stop. So a lot of authors, too, as we've gone down with the scams and everything that's gone through ACX, have really, really hurt, which has left a huge gap in the market for us to go to work with other places. So I absolutely love this idea with YouTube because, remember, people think generally of YouTube as a way to make money via ads, but YouTube has a subscription service, and a lot of these authors are going there and doing subscriptions. Pay for $4.99 a month, and you can have access to all my books. Well, I mean, you get 10,000 people paying you $5 a month. I mean, that's like $50,000 a month, right? My math is right, and that's not unheard of. That's happening all over the place, right? I mean, I pay $4.99. I love smaller price subscriptions because I get a lot for a little. But what I give the person is a monthly reoccurring income so they can keep creating. It's a wonderful business model. Audible is using it, but they're not paying us or the authors. They're paying themselves for the subscriptions. We don't get any of that money. So it's just things to think about, and you got to understand the business side of this, or they're gonna screw us. I hate to say it because they're in business for themselves. Sorry, Brandon, we went down a rabbit hole on that one. Rudy said yes. Adia says Slovakia. Wow, it's great to have you. Thank you so much. 7:36 right now. Thank you for being on so late with us. Gary, again, thank you so much for the super chat. Really means the world. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Gary. Let's see. Donald says, good morning, Anthony from Vallejo, California. What's up? All your information is always on point. Thank you, Donald. Angela. What's up, Angela? Hi. Says, hey, AP, curious. What are your thoughts on going the union route? Good question. So I think that when I first started as an actor, 20 plus years ago, we'll keep it there. The aspirations that every actor had was to join the union, because with the union, you had the connections, the availability of getting bigger paying jobs. Okay. And of course there was benefits, right? Like, you had people who you worked with had to pay for insurance, right? There was retirement. The union has done such a wonderful job over the years of legitimizing acting. But just like anything, over time, it changes. And I really do believe over time, the union has changed. And it's become something different than it originally was. In order to maintain the power and everything that it has to limit your availability. Because if it doesn't limit your availability, well, you might not pay SAG, right? Because how they or these unions, because how they make their money is by taking a percentage of what you make. But in order to do that, they've got to be able to limit who you have access to. So what I found out early on as an actor, as a young actor, is that by getting my points, because as to get in the union, you got to get points and things like this. I realized, well, there was places I couldn't perform at. I wasn't allowed to, and if I was caught, I'd be in big trouble. I'd be suspended. I have fines. The place you worked at would be fined. So like smaller theaters, outside events, things that were not, part of the union, you couldn't work for. And I made a decision early on. I was like, well, I didn't really like that. I don't know why. It just rubbed me the wrong way. It's probably because of where my experiences at the time. I was working in a place that was non-union, but there was a rep house, and then I worked in Little Rock for a while as a professional voice actor. I was paid, and there was I was working there at a repertory theater, and I was earning points, but I was like, well, but then I want to work at other places. I want to work at children's theater. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make, Angela, is that I don't think there's anything wrong being a part of SAG-AFTRA in the union. Just note that it is a different world. And it might benefit you if you're really interested, to go see start joining some of those communities if you're really interested in it. I like my autonomy. I like my ability to make my decisions. I got into this business to get away from people telling me what I can and can't do in my job. That's what I got into this for, to be my own boss. And, so much of what the union is you have to follow their rules. That's, thing like perfect example about Fiverr. If I'm on Fiverr platform, I follow those rules. But if I leave that platform, they don't come after. I mean, like, I'm not a fine. I don't lose. I can decide what I do. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, again, this is talking from someone who's not in the union. So I always recommend, because I don't want to bash something that I'm not a part of. So I would say go talk to some people. But personally, it's not for me. It's not for me. I like what I do. I like having the ability to build and create my own stuff. So that's just me. But again, a lot of wonderful people are in the union. And a lot of wonderful people are in the union who are also on Fiverr. They're just not telling anybody because they'll get in trouble. Let's see. Thank you for that question, though, Angela. I think it's a good thing. I don't talk about it enough. I don't have anything against them. It's just not for me. But it might be for you. I don't know. I know you though, Angela. I don't know if it'd be for you either, but you have to check it out on your own. Let's see. Voice gigs are premium only. Voices gigs are for premium. And that's the thing, right? You got to pay voices. That's true, to get the gigs. So that's true. You got to pay them to have their gigs. And I'm still interested because, the rollout didn't really do well, or at least I've not heard, again, whatever that data is about how many people are actually booking through those spots. It's going to take them a while, just like anything else. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you can't do it for the free account. But you can put up samples, right, on your free account. Let's see. Learn audio basics. What's up? I get more audio cleanup editing work on Upwork at the moment. That's another thing, too. I get a lot of work to do audio editing for other people, right, for authors who want to narrate their own stuff, because we know how to do that. So, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of that work going around, too. JJJ, what's up? Happy Friday. I've been binging on yours, Angela's videos, soaking up all the knowledge. Awesome. Thank you so much. Adiz says, at V Worldwide, I think most of the time it's paying by a minute's recorded, right? Well, it's per finished hour. It's per finished hour, and I always round up. I always try to round up. Voiceover Angela says, for Upwork, I've been using Connects for the Available Now badge. I've been using those too for a few weeks. Not much of a difference in traffic. Yeah, I think that Upwork is following on the coattails of Fiverr, and they're trying to make extra money from things like that, and hoping people, start to search that platform like Fiverr. But here's the issue with Upwork, and I'm just gonna say, if you on Upwork, you know what I'm talking about. The search algorithm on Upwork, God bless them, they need to fix it. It sucks. It is awful. I mean, it is horrendous. It really is. You can't find people. You can't find services. I mean, it's very. I am shocked at them for how poorly it's set up. They need someone to redo that whole search algorithm that they have. but it is awful. I always struggle with it. All right, so it says, okay, I get it now. The audiobooks, I just didn't know it was per hour. Yeah, I gotcha. Let's see. Rudy says 40. Gary says 40. I must have missed. Was I? It was me talking. Thank you. I'm behind on the audiobook question. Do you finish all chapters, edits, and post before submitting, or do you trickle files to the client? Depending on where you are, if I'm doing it like through Fiverr and stuff, I will always submit the first 5, 10, 15 minutes to them for approval before I do the rest of it. Because God forbid you do the entire book in an accent, or you do it something and they're like, no, we didn't want that. We wanted another accent, and you're going to have to do the whole thing over again. So always submit to them the first couple of minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes. You're required to do the first 15 minutes on like ACX. And then once they approve it, I just do it all and go for it. Let's see. Gary says 2,000 for 50 hours is $40. Thank you, Gary. The math. So, listen, $40 per finished hour. I mean, we're not making, we're not baseball stars, but I mean, $40 per finished hour is not shabby. That is nothing to be shy about. That is way, way, way up there. All right. I think, it was way more than I was making with a master's degree as a teacher. So, I was making like $25, $30 an hour. So it's still a really good rate. Let's see. Zach says only Rudy. Thank you so much. I was scrolling down. I just saw a super chat. Thank you so much, Rudy. I really appreciate that. It means the world. You guys are awesome. Thank you. That's all. I just appreciate it. $10, Rudy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Zach says, I only do audiobooks through Fiverr. Just finished a 10-hour audiobook, $2,300. Took less than 3 hours. Dude, that's awesome, Zach. I know I try to overinflate the numbers because some people who are just starting audiobooks, it takes them a lot longer. But you should be able to, if you get good at this, you should be able to do 1 hour of finished work should take you 3 hours. Right? It shouldn't take you longer than 3 hours. So, I mean, I really love that, man. That's fantastic. I mean, that's a lot of money. So, I mean, $2,300 in 30 hours, right? You're talking, what is that? That's $60, $65, $70 an hour. I mean, that's a lot of money. So awesome job, Zach. Awesome job. Rudy, yes, produce. Absolutely. Kate says test. I don't know if and I probably you guys are chatting, putting these in while I'm talking, so I apologize if I don't understand when I get there. Rudy says, I have put together a few in the past. They are work. They are work. I will tell you this. I've done hundreds of audiobooks now, and the more that you do, it does, the process, the feel, it does get easier. Do you know what I mean? It does get easier. So it's not, at first it's tough. It is, just like anything else, but it's a lot of work at first, but you'll get used to it. Kate C, is it possible to jump into Fiverr before learning how to mix music? Is there a market for raw voice? The editing is only reason why I haven't gotten going. Thanks you. Okay, so Kate, two things on this one. One, absolutely. I mean, most people do not want you to mix. I mean, like most of my voiceovers, I'm not sending them as mixed or mixed with background music unless it's like my podcast intros or outros or something where the gig is specifically marketing mixing background music. Now, editing your work, I would say that editing and mastering work, it is something that you want to do and be able to do, unless you have less to do. Like, for example, your space is completely acoustically treated to the nines. You have excellent equipment that makes you sound like a star without you doing anything, and can you submit raw audio that way? Yes. But the problem with raw audio for a lot of people is that their space, their equipment isn't the best it can be at times, because we're starting with what we got, all right? But you've got to do some work to it in order to make it a little bit more professional. So, you really should work on editing, mastering, right? I don't know what you're on, Audacity, Adobe Audition. We've got some courses over at aviosjourney.com for getting started on those, or book a session. I can help you. There's a lot of other people. We've got Don Barnes as part of our academy. He's kind of a tech legend. So, we've got a lot of resources there for you too, or just use YouTube. Takes longer, but you can just use YouTube and search around, but you got to get good at least producing a finished audio nowadays. Okay. Because unless they've got an engineer, they're not going to be able to do it. Let's see. Again, Rudy, thank you so much, so much. The more work you accept, the more likely you'll get work. Well, that's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. Success begets success. There is no doubt about that. And yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. Don't need to say anything else. DJ, what's up? Great info as always. Thanks, Anthony. Thank you so much, DJ. Dell says, first time on live, been researching all of this and planning to jump into the pool. That's awesome, Dell. Absolutely. It really is such a fun journey. I've had such a fun ride so far over the last 5 years, and I'm so happy that, I've built a business. Most businesses fail after the first year. Don't forget, everybody, by the way, we're businesses. I mean, this is not some random thing that's not a business. This is a business. So the way we run this business, it is a business. Now and it's about our talent, but also about running a business. So you're doing amazing. You're keeping a business afloat. You're working on it. I mean, this is not easy. This is a challenge. This is the challenge for our ages. So absolutely, Dell, you can do it. Jump in. Be great. Jeremy, what's up? I'd love to get an offer of an audiobook to get the experience, practice, and build my portfolio. Be lucky for the work you get to do. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was naive, but I was so happy when I first started just to be hired for royalty share books, because I thought somebody wants to use my voice, right? I'm going to be on Amazon at the time. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and a lot of those I never made one penny from, but it kept me going because I was like, man, I'm working. I'm actually being, hired. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see. JJJ says, is there a new segment of VO work being created within the metaverse? So Jay, I've talked about this a bunch, and I think there's expectations of it. There will be, if the metaverse, I think the question is not if, and more so when and how will it be fully integrated more into business marketing, character profiles, people profiles. I mean, a lot of stuff is happening, but it's very Wild Westy right now. Will companies need entire branding within there? Will avatars need unique voices? Will companies want will there be billboards in there? Will we be doing a whole nother digital world of marketing? I think yes. I just don't know when that will be. How soon that will be, and what companies will step up to actually, motivate that. I mean, right now it's kind of like the Wild West land grab, right? People are buying up segments of it, and then they will develop it. So I do think that, that is going to be one day, but I just don't know when. Let's see. Greetings. Tony says, greetings from Ireland. Hey, Tony, just gone 7 p.m. here. Thank you so much for being on. I have yet to make the leap into VO. Is there a free sound mixer and editor that can be used to produce pro-sounding VO? Maybe Audacity. Yeah, I mean, Audacity is probably the number one free DAW that, you're going to get, that does have a robust enough platform for you to use. A lot of people eventually move away from Audacity for, more tools and things like that. But Audacity is a great place to start. Absolutely. And I do have an Audacity course. So Kate says, I bought your course on Audacity. Thank you, Kate. Absolutely. Behind the Audition with Kurt. Happy Friday. What's up? Happy Friday. Rudy says, one last, how are podcasts monetized? Lots of different ways, Rudy. I mean, I have a podcast, a VO's Journey podcast, and I think we have a couple hundred episodes, which I got to do another podcast. I've got so much to talk about on the podcast, but you can monetize them a bunch of people can sponsor you. Businesses can pay you to think about it. It's radio. It's the new radio. All right. It's the new radio. So you can either be sponsored by ads, right? That, you're talking. And then if I was to stop and be like, today's segment is sponsored by Colgate, fresh breath, shiny teeth, Colgate. Is that right? I mean, you have commercials like that. There'll be ads will be a lot of these platforms now have automatically placed ads like YouTube. Okay. In which case you literally sign up for it and you're paid upon the impressions that you get. Like usually paid per 1,000 impressions or per 1,000 downloads. Problem with a lot of people doing podcasts is they're not actually getting that many downloads. You know what I'm saying? So, it is one of those challenges that you run into, is that in the end, I would always focus more, if we're venturing off Fiverr right now and talking about you're doing your own work, always focus on eyeballs. We've seen more than ever over the last few years too. Those who control the eyeballs control everything, right? Because eyeballs are influence. Wherever you have people watching or going to, that's influence. So your job is to get eyeballs, or in this case, ears, right? And listening to your podcast. So that's basically how you monetize podcasts. But you've got to at least have a robust enough downloads to get enough, on the podcast. But there are a lot of podcasts that have popped up doing things like audio dramas and stuff like that. So, but again, here's what's the most important thing, everybody. Please note this. It's not just enough. And I know that you might not like this, and I understand, but it's not just enough to publish or to put out a good performance anymore. You have got to be able to market it and sell it. If you don't want to do that, that's great. Hire someone who does. Find someone who does. That's the wonderful thing about running your own show, right? Partner with people who do. Get in a group. Get in a VO's Journey Academy and be a part of our audiobook production company. Be a part of a group or something that is doing it if you don't want to sell the stuff, but you got to sell it. Because people do want it, but in a world as noisy as ours, we have to find a way to get it. All right, a couple more here, then we got to go. I've actually got I got a coaching session in 8 minutes. So we've been on for a while, it's been wonderful. I always love doing this. Let's see. Rudy says, I use Cakewalk for PC, free and powerful. Cool. I'm not sure about Cakewalk. I don't know it, but check it out. Yeah. Rudy says, love me some Colgate. Yeah. JJ says, I've been recording with Audacity. Just bought Adobe Audition today. Awesome. That's what I use. Can't wait to use it later. Your video that showed the ability to have a hotkey with the favorite edits was mind-blowing. Oh my gosh, yes. You can do that on Audacity too, but it's a lot more tricky, right? You can set up keys on Audacity, which in my course, but it's so easy on Adobe Audition, and I love it because all I do now is I record. I push one button on my key, my keyboard, and I'm done. I'm literally done. And that's another thing too, right? That a lot of people, it takes them a lot longer because maybe they're not as familiar with their equipment, or maybe they're not even aware that you can do it a different way. So that's a very good point. Absolutely. Richie, what's up, Richie? Thanks for the educational resources. Please keep them coming. Thank you. You are most welcome. I appreciate it. Kate says, hiring people, though, what are the implications come tax time? Are you issuing 1099s? Well, here's the perfect thing. So answer, am I issuing 1099s personally? Yes, I am issuing 1099s. However, but here's the cool part. If you hire freelancers like us and you pay them through PayPal, you do not have to issue 1099s. PayPal will. Let me say that again. If you are hiring contractors, like someone hires us, we're a contractor, right? We're our individual owner of our business, and you pay them through PayPal, PayPal will issue the 1099. You don't. Now, I personally, with my business now, with what we do, I have a CPA, I have a tax accountant, I have different people on my financial team, but that's how I found out that the PayPal loophole, right, with us in 1099s. If you pay people through PayPal, you don't have to give them a 1099, and you don't have to hire them for like unemployment and anything because they're contractors. And this has been like places, for example, this has been the big battle in California for a long time, right, with Uber and places like this, because, as a contractor, the company who hires you or pays you, they don't have to, like Fiverr does not have to offer us insurance. Fiverr does not have to offer us any benefits. Okay. But, but with that does mean that, it can be more difficult for us as individuals. But then again, we're making that decision. So that's kind of a battle that's been happening in California for a while, right? That law about it. And I can't remember if they've passed or figured it out or it's still in the courts or whatever. But fortunately, that's a little loophole, Kate, that you can use. I know. Never mind. Go see a tax professional. Thank you for. Nice. No. I hope that. Yes, I am not a tax professional myself, but I've learned from mine that actually works, and that's I try to pay all the people I hire through PayPal. Right. I do. I pay them all through PayPal because PayPal tends to 1099. It just makes it easier on my CPA. Okay. Let's see. JP Wright. Fiverr Friday makes Fridays complete. Okay. Best yet. Thank you, Anthony. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by today, having this conversation with me. I hope this was helpful. And as always, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend. And I will be back Monday. And we'll start it all over again. Bye, everybody. Thank you. See you later. Goodbye. Bye.